Perhaps you can see the smile in my eyes. I am going on vacation. The plane tickets have been bought at an increased inflationary price. The Airbnb has been reserved near Livorno in Tuscany. And that is how I feel. Just like this music, Artist Journal, February 27th, 2023, broadcasting to the world from Berlin, Germany. My name is Adrian Pocobelli, artist reporter, reporting for duty. Welcome back, everyone. A ton to get through as usual. But yeah, kind of big show note. In a month, April 1st or so, I will be going to Italy. So I'm thrilled about that. I am learning Italian aggressively this morning, using that as motivation, the vacation. So anyways, there'll be a week off at the start of April. I'm thrilled. Maybe some of you are thrilled too. Sometimes I worry that this show takes too much time from people's art making. So anyways, I am trying to reduce them. Let's see if I have any more luck today. Welcome back. This is LB Open Edition. And of course, Laura Palmer is the subject of this Open Edition here. And some of you, a lot of you will know the reference to Laura Palmer, which is Twin Peaks, which is a TV show which is quite interesting. I mean, David Lynch was the director, and of course, very famous director of kind of odd, for lack of a better term, phantasmagoric cinema. And what was so weird about that was it was kind of put on mainstream television back in like the late 80s, early 90s, but it was David Lynch on mainstream primetime television, Twin Peaks. And so it became a cult classic. I think it only lasted like 2 or 3 seasons. And I think there was a movie or two. I watched them like literally 15 or 20 years ago. So anyway, but they are cult classics. So here you go. I'll see you again. And Laura Palmer was the woman who was murdered. So it was all about her murder and what took place in that fiction called Twin Peaks. Open edition to celebrate 2023 Twin Peaks Day. Analog video art, Edroll, mismatcher. So rescanned from CRT monitor. Anyway, a really cool piece. Available for 2 Tezos, only 20 minted, and 1 day and a half left. So, very cool piece from LB, one of our favorite glitch artists, and we're going to talk about glitch here. Thank you to District 468 and Anonymous Collector for picking up a few more 8-bit nature works. That was great. So thank you very much. They are almost all gone. Maybe they are all gone. I haven't even looked. But anyways, I'm thrilled to see those go. And I said the last time that I was I've been printing like a madman here, printed versions of these. I may actually put them on Object, do an experiment, do a collection of prints. People have done this before, and I think it's actually brilliant, and sell these as prints. Editions of 25, I'm thinking. But anyway, thank you again for the purchases. Interesting comments here from last episode, and thank you for all the likes and support and everything, tweets and comments. First, and most importantly, then we'll come back to Human Boy, but Dan W. was in fact hacked. Daniel W., Dan Control was hacked. Hi, Adrian. Thanks a lot for the highlight, as always. Yeah, unfortunately, my ETH wallet was hacked and is now recoverable together with my unrecoverable with my NFTs. That is like your worst nightmare as an artist. I opted to use a cold wallet after this experience and made this piece to come back. So that was the cold wallet work that we were looking at. I actually won that auction for 32. I couldn't believe it. I thought there'd be an auction battle for that, but I think people were sleeping. I've been on the other side of that, auctions, where I've been sleeping. So I think it was Scamra, actually. Shout out to Scamra. Thank you also for the analysis at the approach I'm taking to my pieces. Careful observer as always. So anyways, buy some of Dan Control's work. Help him out and just check out his work. We're going to look at a piece today, actually. That is devastating. So yeah, the importance of using a ledger, cold storage. Protect yourself. Don't let this happen to you. Everybody thinks it'll never happen to them, right? So yeah. Anyways, continuing on, Human Boy vibes. Beautiful episode. Always a new artist I've never seen before. This is what I want to get to, and thank you, Human Boy. Wanted to thank you for mentioning my poll and giving feedback. And remember the poll that was, should I create a new account for AI? my AI art. And I was thinking about it some more, and I was saying basically, not for your Twitter, because who needs another Twitter to take care of, but maybe on Object you would. People like Sumi Reusi have done that, I think, quite successfully. But then I thought, well, what about Sabato? Sabato has put out AI, but it kind of melds in nicely with his kind of body of work, right? So I think maybe if it's something if you're going to put out a ton of AI work, you don't want your other work to get drowned out by that. But if you're just going to put out like a few, like Sabato, and a few, like here's an experimentation, a series I'm working on. If it's like 10 or 15, then maybe you do. So again, though, if you have big ambitions with AI, you probably do start that. And that's actually, in fact, what a human boy did. Just some quick news from me. I made a new object account to mint my AI artworks on. You can find it at antiquities.tez. I'll start minting there tomorrow. So it sounds like human boy has a lot to share. So you might as well. I would do that if I had a lot, because I wouldn't want to drown out my regular, quote unquote, regular account. And what else? Skomra was also mentioning how beautiful that ledger piece is, Stand Control, by the way. And also just on glitch. Yes, thinking more on it now. This is Runetune. I think you are right that perhaps this idea that glitch is a conscious response to something isn't as true as it is just experimental practice. Time will tell. Put it this way. Yeah, it seems like a bit of a bridge too far into again, it's something that almost you'd say after the fact. If there was no political motivation, I think the experiments would still be happening with glitch. But let's continue. Time will tell, but perhaps there's something there under the surface of the glitch art that does have something more to say, even if subconsciously or unintentionally. Yeah, beautifully, subtly put. It's a subtle issue. Often our art history books like to take the artistic phenomena of the time and lay it out in a way that makes the art appear more deliberately responsive to the moment than it really was. And I think that's very true. In a sense, like we rationalize everything after the fact. Interesting though, regardless. Yeah, I basically totally share your sentiment, Runetune. Thank you for all the comments, everyone. Got a lot of comments and feedback and positive feedback on the last episode. So just a couple of more responses, though, on the glitch side of things. So someone responding to this is glitch a political response to technology. NPOP, my glitch is a response to society. It just happens that society glitched us all with technology. Perhaps culture is now a slave to it. So seemingly saying it is a response to society. In other words, it does have kind of a political element to it. And another comment on glitch itself from Auguste Ground. In aesthetic rhetoric, the glitch would align with the Japanese concept of wabi-sabi. In the conscious embrace of the flaw, there is a more subtle form of perfection. Essentially, the imperfection makes the thing perfect. You know what that also reminds me of? Beautiful thought. And it also reminds me of kind of Warhol's idea, again, of embracing the mistakes. If you accidentally drip the paint or all this sort of thing, that this is something to be embraced and actually makes it better, more perfect, one could argue. So Auguste Ground seems to be kind of, you were starting to see parallels here between all these ideas. And here's another one, this time from The Bangers by Snepsid. Glitch is the graffiti and street art of technology and the digital world. Interesting thought. Glitch is the graffiti and street art of technology in the digital world. So thank you for that. Let me just favorite that. Great comment. Great thought. Bangers. Okay. We'll just put a heart here quickly. Nice, beautiful heart there. Spreading the love. All right. So I just wanted to share this. So I've been talking about doing short form content, right? So I finally did it. I did the experiment. This is total prototype here, but I did want to share it because I think it's pretty interesting. So of course there's YouTube Shorts, there's TikTok, Instagram Reels. This is kind of what's getting pushed by the platforms right now. So my thinking is you take a quote, say here's Gogolitis on Rug Radio, and then I asked Gogolitis permission to put his art in this as well, and he said yes. And then you have this.
A bunch of machine generating the reality
him explaining. So
experiencing. So you have different modules to handle different aspects of the simulation.
So there's a minute of Gogolitis explaining what's going on with this artwork here, and how cool is that? You know, dare I say, how cool is that? And so I put it up on YouTube and TikTok. I mean, there's 875 views. So all to say, more incentive for people. Like if you're trying to get your work out there, the Twitter Spaces, come say something, because all it is an excuse for me, you know, to start putting these things together. They actually come together very quickly. And yeah, like it's just kind of fun. So kind of fun, kind of interesting. There's a few, like 45 likes or whatever on this too. So anyways, all just kind of fun and exciting. Shout out to Threesomes, who I was suggesting that maybe this work here, as we were looking at it in the NFTs, on the image, the JPEG on object, I was thinking, oh, maybe this was post-processed because it's all in yellow. Threesome messaged, and again, shout out to Threesomes. Thank you for the comment. I mean, Threesomes is one of like the, you know, old school original gangsters, so to speak, on object. So it's great to hear from him. And in fact, this is purely a physical work as he demonstrated in this photo here. And that's what he said as well. So anyways, very cool. I'm probably going to be on his podcast. He was mentioning something like March 8th with Die With The Most Likes, who he co-hosts with. So anyways, super cool and exciting. Leon Vilhena. So remember these beautiful, beautiful AI works on the left here? So this is done, and we have some more today. The AI work is done through a blend of collages from this collection. And let me just quickly bring up the collection. And let's see if this loads. So interesting. So AI work is done through a blend of collages. So I'm still actually not exactly sure how this is all made, but it looks like it's using AI and blending these works together. All to say, it makes quite beautiful, subtle works here at the end, like quite beautiful, subtle works. So anyways, just using AI in very interesting ways. And also Parsa Mostagim, who, thank you for the message here. So remember this work here, this wild work that was at NFT Paris? Parsa Mostagim. And yes, the whole piece was sculpted in VR, and then I rendered it in Blender for the final animation. So that is how this wild work here was made. Very cool. So big shout out to Parsa for explaining that. Thank you. And also for sending me the pronunciation of Mastagim, if I'm pronouncing that right. Mostagim. Mostagim. I will get it right. Blake Wood. So this kind of showed up, and I thought it was kind of just interesting to note and to unpack a little bit here. So apparently, this is Blake Wood. So apparently NFT Paris decided to exhibit my art without my name, title of the work, or a QR code. The piece on chain. Exposure without clear attribution is artist exploitation. Lesson learned. So, yeah, so I don't know if anybody is consciously attempting to exploit. Like, I kind of take the artist's point. Like, I mean, okay, you finally kind of make it, and then there's your work, and nobody knows who it is. Now, I'm just looking at the other side of this. If you're NFT Paris, and I think there should be a way of attributing, but I'm thinking oftentimes these TVs, and again, we see how limited these TVs are. I mean, this looks like Rip Cash here, and here are these huge black rectangles. Even here, projectors are nothing, in my opinion. Or you have a massive wall of TV screens that basically act as a projector. But yeah, I think the challenge here is there's probably different artworks being shown on these screens. So if you have more than one artwork, how do you put a little label here? Maybe you put it at the bottom right. So it just shows how kind of early on we are. I would be forgiving. I mean, these people that were probably NFT Paris, I think they ideally should be obviously attributing the artist. They're probably just trying to get this all up. Like, they're probably just like, okay, we got the TVs up. They're working. The plug-in, the connections are working. The art shows up. But I'd take your point. Like, ideally, this should be shown, the attribution. And maybe the way to do it is you have, like, you know, handouts for people, which are often you find in real galleries or like physical art galleries, which have a picture of all the works and then everything about it. The price, the knit title, the artist. Maybe they did do that. I don't know. So, that's how a regular contemporary art gallery works. Oftentimes they will not put any, attribution. You have to get the little piece of paper that says everything. So anyways, I thought it was interesting though. And from the artist side of things, I think it is important though, also from the artist side, to just get as much information as possible. Will it be ask the questions, maybe. But if you ask too many questions, maybe they just go, this person's too much work, let's just focus on it. So anyways, it's just one of those things. So that's going on. And I believe this is the show, Artists Times AI, co-curated by Claire Silver, dropping February 23rd on Foundation World's On View at NFT Paris. So I'm not sure if I see that work. So it might be a different show. I'm not sure. But all to say, there's a Yoain. Look at that. That's a cool one. Dernadler. Wow, nice work, Dernadler. Very nice work. More from Dernadler. Dernadler is, here's someone who was a huge collector on Object, on Tezos, and became an artist. That's totally cool. A nice feature of this scene. So anyways, this is doing quite well, though. All to say, look at all the auctions going on here in the last, couple of days here. Very impressive. So auctions all across the board. So, that's interesting. So continuing on. Object One. So remember the one of one platform on Object called Object One. And the first one's going to be curated by Fake Whale at Art Dubai. And I think they launch on March 1st, so it's going to coincide. Visit us at Art Dubai. So interesting. And I guess what I wanted to show on that last thing too is, again, the power. Look at everything that's selling. The power of curation. And in a sense, that's what I would love to see. That would be my number one, request on Object is curation tools. Let me make playlists like I can with music. Just let me make playlists. And really, I was thinking, and if people don't want to be in playlists, I think you can have a little, toggle switch in your profile that says, let people put my work in collections or not. And then I think even at a certain point, you bring in the curators and give them, and then enable 1% thing for curators, I think is an interesting thing. So I think there are creative ways of solving and really, because I think it's an exciting thing, just like it is with music, playlists, and we see it more and more here with Foundation. I think it's a huge hit, what's going on there. Here's just an interesting gallery, Verseworks Gallery in London. And they focus on, it's an exhibition space for digital artworks. So again, just a different kind of display here. Of course, this is physical work, but I don't see any, title card with the name of this thing. It's probably on a piece of paper. So in a weird way, you might say maybe it's not that different from what you see at NFT Paris. And finally, on the news front, this is kind of a big news story that kind of flew under the radar. I didn't see anybody talking about this on Twitter, but maybe that's just my feed. AI-created images lose U.S. copyrights in tests for new technology. So just very quickly, images in a graphic novel that were created using AI system Midjourney should not have been granted copyright protection, U.S. Copyright Office said in a letter seen by Reuters. Chris Castanova is entitled to copyrights for the parts of the book Castanova wrote and arranged, but not for the images produced by Midjourney. So it sounds like it's raw AI, because this is the final part here. The decision is one of the first by the U.S. court or agency on the scope of copyright protection for works created with AI. And here it is. The Copyright Office said in its letter that it would reissue its registration for Zarya of the Dawn to omit images that are, quote, are not the product of human authorship and therefore cannot be copyrighted. So it's basically saying, the U.S. Copyright Office is saying, now it comes down to this issue of authorship, which we've actually discussed many times. Is a prompt sufficient for authorship? Remember Popple weighed in, he's like, he didn't feel like he was responsible enough for the artwork to really take credit for it. So it's an interesting thing. This idea of authorship is coming back. And if there's no sense of human authorship of the piece, which the U.S. Copyright Office would argue with raw AI, there's no copyright. So just kind of interesting. I mean, I think we're very, very early on in this, but just interesting. And also, I'm really curious to see, this is Pablo Puncasso. And I'm going to pair this with another little thing, and then we're going to get right into the art and speed through it here. But this is just something on the market. This pairs with the next tab here. I'm really curious to see how Sotheby's auctions go for NFT artists. KYC and cash-only bids is a pretty big hurdle versus people just anon throwing ETH at pieces. My hunch is they go for less than normal, but I could be wrong. I agree. I think when people are using crypto, they're much more looser with their money than if it's coming out of their bank account, even if it's worth the same amount of money. You know, it's a lot easier to spend internet money like Tezos or ETH than real US dollars. So I agree with this sentiment. Look at this, though. I just want to kind of pair this with this article that Katya Kazakina, who's a very prominent art reporter for a long time. She did the New York Times. Now she's, I think, on ArtNet. And anyway, sometimes she posts on her Instagram feed her articles. And I just wanted to highlight this because I thought this just reminds me so much of Tezos. There's a huge pack of speculators, said an auction executive. It's all pump and dump. And then they are on to the next thing. And auction houses just reflect whether artists are being actively, and auction houses just reflect what artists are being actively sought after. Emerging art speculators typically don't buy a $500,000 artworks. Instead, they look for things under $50,000 and then create hype. They'd resell this work for $150,000 and it would be considered a great result. So this kind of reminds you of the flippers on objects. So maybe things aren't that different. And maybe as artists, I was thinking to myself, maybe we just have to be okay that part of this business, and maybe a lot of this business, is going to be just rampant speculation. And if that's the case, as artists, we really have to be kind of ready for booms and busts, and then back to this diversification of your business as an artist. Because if all of a sudden you're hot on object, let's say, and you think, oh, I can quit my job, and then 3 months later you're not, you better have like other, spheres of collectors, physical collectors, contemporary art world, again, multi-chain, multimedia, multi-platform over here. So on to the work. So of course, Dr. Benway, famous character in William Burroughs novels, kind of the psychopathic doctor, we could say, a tribute to outsider artist Herbert Singleton. So this is by Hasdrubal Waffle. And so here we see, again, using the kids' art programs, getting these wonderful, wonderful textures. And so maybe there's Dr. Benway doing things, shooting up with a patient here or something. So anyways, again, a very famous character. And here's another one. You might, if you know the Atrocity exhibition by J.G. Ballard, there's Dr. Nathan, also kind of a psychopathic doctor. So these characters, these kind of doctor characters, are kind of I don't know if motif is the right word, but almost like archetypal type of character that you'll see in, say, post-World War II literature, particularly in Ballard and Burroughs, and which they took particular fondness of. And just finally on that, you'll see a lot of artists. This is worth noting, like James Joyce, I think, studied medicine. Ernest Hemingway was in World War I, was like a kind of ambulance attendant of sorts. J.G. Ballard studied medicine at Cambridge. Burroughs studied medicine. That is kind of a constant, like the whole medicine idea is kind of a constant, it's an important thing to recognize, particularly for these kinds of artists, when you're starting to say, can art be a kind of knowledge? Which is what I've been saying with this idea of qualitative science. Can art be a kind of knowledge? And because what is like if you've never studied anatomy, it's actually quite shocking what lies beneath the skin here. It's pretty surprising, shocking, and it lights up your imagination. And we see that all the way back to the Renaissance with, these early anatomical dissections that they were doing of corpses, sometimes in secret because the church didn't want them to do that, at least not publicly. So all to say, this doctor theme is a very fun theme. Here's a variation on it, as Hasdrubal called it, a side B on that. So here's the first, and this is the release, and here's the other, the side B, which he was going to release as a 1 of 1, but he wasn't sure. Anyways, very cool. Yuri J. Metamorphoses, more literary references here. Very nice work from Yuri J. on Object. Very cool. You got to love musical instruments in artworks as well. And so anyways, just playing with the wild perspective and all the digital effects and everything that we come to expect from a Yuri J. Edition of 15, I think still available. 4 more still available. This might have been loaded up, though, a few days ago. I just open tabs and I leave them open because sometimes it's just the easiest thing to do. Dan Control, so with an interesting work, Exception, everything you need to not survive except for one thing. So a bunch of war gear, except for a fire hydrant, which I assume is the thing that that will not lead to you not surviving, as Dan puts it. So bullets, bombs, Kevlar vest, balaclava, and everything. So anyways, Dan Control is on hard times, so feel free to pick up some work from him. Interesting work from Mokojo World, Garden of Evil. So another just kind of really interestingly colored illustration here. This is available on Foundation, I think a reserve of half an ETH. So anyways, just pretty original stuff here. And it looks like this guy has harpooned the heart out of this, green woman here. So interesting, mysterious, dark work from called Garden of Evil, listing for half an ETH. And Haiti Roquette, I missed this piece here. WWW 3 Ultimate Wrestling Champion here, Spill Like a Champion, edition of 11. So continuing with the Glitch ROM art, minted on Taya. And here it is. And kind of a story of sorts. Kind of a longer one, actually. And I think, yeah, you see, so great. Look at this. So he's really just kind of mastered the whole glitch ROM thing, hasn't he? So anyways, cool work from Haiti Roquette. Now it's 42 Tezos. How many? So a very low edition, actually, for him. Only sold for 6 on primary. And Popple, with a really cool kind of serene work, Maiden of Lichen. And here you see a another kind of monster, alien-esque monster with what looks like some psilocybin mushrooms growing from a weird pot. So again, just kind of one of these beautiful works in this series. 4 left at 11 Tezos when I loaded this up. So anyways, cool work from Popple, and you even get a poem on the side. So very cool. Some works by Tom Bombadil. Look at how great this is. You know what I'm really liking in Tom Bombadil's work right now is the close-ups, the composition where there's something about it. The composition just feels really grand with these close-ups. And again, he's got this beautiful frame here with just a 1 pixel wide frame, or, the size of his pixels here. Experiment 2. And some skull character with a cranial sort of device on him. Again, playing with the sci-fi, kind of almost pulp, 1940s pulp sort of feel here as well. Robot stories. It almost looks like a close-up. And again, looks like he's reading some sort of sci-fi pulp from the 40s or 50s. Cool clouds. And On a Train, Hypersound by Tom Bombadil. So 8 Tezos and 7 Tezos still available. So very cool. This is a new artist, as far as I know, Pixology. And this was pretty cool. I think Gogolitis tweeted this out. So again, kind of looks like it's used, Aseprite is being used. And actually we have the clue here, 144 frames made on Aseprite. And Egyptian Woman, so just kind of a cool, fun pixel artwork. And here was a screenshot of Aseprite from Pixology. I'm feeling super pumped from the positive response. It sold out pretty quickly. I bought one on secondary for 5. I am currently in full-on work mode. There's nothing like making sales to inspire you. to make more work. I'll be restocking on tea tomorrow before diving back into creating my nose animation. I'm crossing my fingers that you will all find it enjoyable. So very cool. So Aseprite seems like a tool you have to use. I'm pretty sure Ed Marola uses it too. So here's a new interesting work as always. Let's just get some sound on it. Suzanne in the Clouds. Quite beautiful, isn't it? I'm pretty sure he makes the music too. So anyways, very cool work here. And here's another one, Leon Working, this edition of 13. And again, just more kind of mysteriousness here. I don't think we showed this last episode. And look at the wire coming out of the computer, which looks, and then it's being cut. So anyways, pretty interesting. And then just different techniques being used here. Very experimental as always, which is what I think people love about Ed's work. Consistently experimental. New work by mech.txt Sleepy Valley. So this came out on the 25th. So interesting. How many colors is this? 3 color work from mech.txt. Interesting part there. I assume that's a moon. And just kind of looks like a river at nightfall. Sleepy Valley, buy now for 30. Let's just see what it listed for. Went for $11.50, and that sold out within 3 minutes. So not bad. Okay, an addition of 20. So that's like 220 Tezos. Boom. That is pretty good. New work by Brave. This is on Form Functions. That is Solana. And there is no volume here. Just a beautiful city with maybe something going through the sky here. And even some beautiful constellations here. I wonder what city this is. It almost looks recognizable. What city is this? The city is more alive, merging worlds and cultures, is known as Golden Paradise, where any wish can come true if you're able to afford. It sounds like Las Vegas, the way it's described. Current bid is 5 Sol. So pretty cool, 1 of 1. Maybe that is Las Vegas. I don't know. This was retweeted by Sabato, I think, who, again, is an awesome follow for looking for just different works. Element Lee is the name of this artist, Frustum Culling Garden. So just kind of an interesting work here. Some sort of device, and then the image shows up in the device. It's almost like a projector, but then it goes 3D. Not sure what's going on, but it's interesting. I know that much. And here's the artist, experimental pixel art as the medium for thinking, feeling, and freedom. And this is sort of what I was thinking with that Gogolitis short. It's this idea of very like thoughtful pixel art. It's sort of like pixel art is such a kind of seen as almost like Minecraft on a certain level of, something for kids in a sense. And kids love pixel art. It's so accessible. But it's very interesting putting these kind of deep themes, sophisticated themes, and that in itself creates a very interesting contrast. I could see there being kind of more of this, in a sense, this kind of high art, pixel art. Speaking of which, Pixel Dealer, Unfold. So finally, we have a couple of new works by Pixel Dealer, who is a great abstract pixel artist. Edition of 11, only 22, which is pretty reasonable considering some of the prices on Pixel Dealer's work. And here's another one that came out last week, Simple Terms. So interesting. Pixel Dealer, if you don't know Pixel Dealer, kind of old school artist on Tezos. Here's a new one from Sabato, Fears and Rationales. So kind of a interesting work here, kind of abstract. I sort of want to feel like, is this a portrait of fear and, fears and rationales of the inner space here, just on an abstract level with these wild colors here? So pretty interesting. We're grateful for our iron lung. So you know what it looks like? Maybe that is our clue. This looks like a hospital machine, which this, automatically helps you breathe for you. It's like an air compressor of sorts. Fears and Rationales, 7 Tezos from Sabato. Only 1 left. It's probably gone. 1-bit horror. So this is 1-bit necro. Okay, so just a heads up. for the one-bit necro fans out there, and there are many. We remember this work, which we looked at. He's on Instagram, and he's posting all sorts of wildness here. So just a heads up, the Game Boy of the Void. And you see one-bit necro, and almost like a comic book, unapologetically himself or herself. Santiago, this is what I was working on today. Show me what you were doing, please. So anyways, look at this work by Santiago. I'm really digging these kind of like what I want to call samples of pixels. These kind of abstract, digital artworks are just super interesting. And we have another really big one here that is on Object. Every day is Fashion Week for a human that just loves flip-flops with socks and you. So anyways, just another super interesting, again, playing with these pixels here. Fascinating. I just find these, they give you a lot to think about. And look at how massive this is. 17,000 by 10,000 pixels. They keep getting bigger. And here's another one by Santiago and Pixel Air. PBO, I'm not sure what that is. And this is about war. We collectively take war as part of human nature, and it's expectable in the ups and downs of national, regional, planetary pressure, friction, and our innate tendency to violence. Should we turn into the next thing after humans in order to not have wars? So, commentary on human nature. Some people think, and you see peace there at the bottom, just briefly came into this piece here, the word peace, P-A-C-E. Yeah, some people think war will never go away, that this is a feature of human nature. It's an interesting question. It's a very interesting, difficult question. Skomra, The Birth of Venus. So shout out to Skomra, friend of the program here. And cool abstract work. I finally went to Skomra's page and I was like, oh, I didn't realize Skomra made work. So anyways, very cool abstract work here. The Birth of Venus, token 1 on Tezos, created with DC GAN. I think that's AI. I'm not positive though. Maybe that's something else. It looks like AI. Yeah. And Lorna Mills, April Foolish, a interesting work here. It looks like maybe a balloon and maybe a reference to the balloons that we're seeing in the news. Not sure. Interesting work. Buy for 15, Tezos edition of 30. And this was just an interesting animated abstract work from Compusophy. Greed, define greed with 2 words. In 24 hours, some definition will win the Greed NFT. So, interesting. And I thought, pretty cool animated abstract work. Look at that. From nothing here, from a line. Pretty cool. This is another one, Day Inc. Look at this. Pretty impressive animated abstract work here. I consider it its own category. Animated abstract. You could call it abstract, and maybe you have to for classification reasons. I've kind of dealt with this when I was putting together my show, The Genres of Digital Art. But you really can have a subgenre there of animated abstract because it really is its own thing. It is different from static abstract art, to state the obvious. So anyways, very cool. Here are some static abstract art works by Sky Goodman. So just interesting experimentation here. And The Windy Day sharpened my senses and unlocked buried memories. Scape created in VR and Blender and Pixel sorted. Edition of 7, let's just see. And this went for 10. Accepted offers of 10, and there you go. So pretty cool. Here's another one. And this went also edition of 7 for 10. And here you go. So more experimentation. Later in the day, I walked to the bush of illuminated intelligence for guidance. So they pair very well together. And I just saw this on Instagram from welcome.jpg, and I just thought of Sky Goodman and the sneakers there. Doesn't this look like a physical lost sneaker here? And it just kind of reminded me. So anyways, just thought I'd show that. Eitzo with another very cool still. And Eitzo was mentioning in a comment, which I should have brought up. I don't think I mentioned in the last show, that these stills it's like Eitzo's sketchbook here. So this is like a sketch from Eitzo's, glitch sketchbook. How cool is that? This one was very beautiful. VHS stream, buy for only a Tezos, edition of 8, so still available. Pretty beautiful kind of still glitch artwork. He likes, I think we did mention it because he likes it being just cheap and accessible. Very cool. Kita Savi, artist I haven't seen before, global jet lag. And so playing again with these kind of 3D shapes that we've been looking at, these kind of organic shapes. So here's a variation on this theme. It's like we've seen these kind of shapes before. So it's interesting just to see how people play around with this software. Anyways, Kita Savi, interesting artist, and here is their page. Whirlwind, worked with Fake Whale. So, okay, so prominent name here. So constantly learning about new artists here. I casually create new worlds and chaos is my only order. There is Kita Savi. Another experimental work, Carlos 28355, art by Kate the Cursed. Here it is. So Kate, kind of a wild work here. Cool music. Some more experimentation. And here's a work Dr. Version was recommending. Ryan Crotty, Haughty. So another just interesting abstract work here. So we'll have to track Ryan Crotty a little bit. Here's another one, Best Before, which was kind of interesting. Let me see if I can make this bigger. Just kind of a weird, again, kind of abstract, not, just weird kind of abstract work, semi-abstract. Stand up, sit down, stumble on something, maybe one day. Collage Berlin. Maybe Best Before is in Berlin. That would be cool. Feel free to reach out, Best Before, if you are. Here are some interesting works, too, by Buya Bays that I thought were quite interesting. They look like AI, don't they? And just kind of ripped paintings on the back of canvases. So AI and digital painting 2023, reserve of 0.12, so pretty reasonably priced. Here's another one. I think this is the same artist, and because it looks like the same technique here. So interesting, nice paint splashes, by the way, on here as well. Sometimes it is very difficult to understand whether the work is finished or not. New drop on Foundation soon. So anyway, another new artist to just look at here. Ile with some beautiful works here. Monitor Memento Mori AI. So we're back to the Memento Mori theme here. The skull here would make this a Memento Mori. We could say a meditation on time. And then within a very contemporary context with a computer laptop here. That Ile needs a new laptop. I feel like we need to do a fundraiser for her. So for several reasons. So anyways, but first things first, here is a beautiful work by Ile. So, and it's part of a bigger series here. Let me just show you another one. Reach Out, also Memento Mori AI. So very cool, beautiful textures here and colors and computers. And I think I brought, so she's got a lot of the Memento Mori here, Hourglass and whatnot. So a ton of new work actually from Ile here. You can see these last 4 rows. So you can check those out on her page. And finally, a couple of more. So Images of the Week we got a comment earlier in the show. So here are just some new ones. February 26th, Artificial Memory 10. Like these look gorgeous. Like the negative space on here is stunning, isn't it? So I think it's taking some of the previous collages and using AI, if I understand Images of the Week correctly. Pretty cool. Here's another one. I don't think we looked at this one. We might have. But look at how cool they just look beautiful and stunning. Yeah, February 26th. This is brand new. So part of the Memory Threads collection. And finally, just some more AI works by Skomra. I listed a new collection, Onboarding on Foundation. So just discovering Skomra's AI work here. So very cool and interesting. Almost these big crowds here. Kind of reminds me of like the Tower of Babel to a certain degree. But at least in that last one, this looks more like Arizona or something. Anyway, cool work from Skomra I wanted to highlight. And here is someone called Portfolio System, who I was looking at on Instagram. I'm not sure how this is made, or what this is in a sense. It's just the image, but I thought it looks like AI to me, done with kind of like Matisse AI with people using laptops in a garden. Pretty nice work. There's another one here too. This was minted like half a year ago. And I just think they're quite beautiful works that would be doing quite well. So Portfolio System on Instagram. Here's their, so a very small account. So I just thought, interesting. Out of Manitoba, Canada, right beside Saskatchewan, where I'm from. Shout out to Portfolio System. CYDR, just with a nice kind of what looks like an AI monitor here, old school monitor, and interesting distortions here, aren't there? So that is cool. And here finally, Tim Romanowski with a physical work that I want to highlight, just interesting physical work. Back to Katya Kazakina. And I just want us to be aware of what's going out there in the contemporary art world. Are you ready to discover the new crop of hyped up emerging artists during London auctions? So here are some examples, okay? And so here you go. So all to say, I think we're measuring up in the NFT scene pretty darn well. I think we're measuring up pretty darn well. So that's great. This is, hot London contemporary art. Emerging artists. We are doing well. Thank you again for joining us, everyone. Not going to waste any time here. And I hope you have a great day. Until next time, take care.